Sometimes clients come into your life and you just feel so blessed that they did. You know, you have your studio, you have students that come through the door and they're just a joy. As a performing arts business coach myself, I get that joy now through my coaching clients, just like I did when I had particular students in my studio that just really lit up the room. Lee Valmy, also affectionately known as Miss Lee, is one of those humans, and she recently stepped into my world because she wanted to create a talent management service within her studio. Now, the thing about Lee is that when I first had, a strategy call with her, we had a call online. I do that. I book these calls with potential clients and have a chat. We did that, and she told me about her dream of having an in-house talent agency. But what made it most interesting and beautiful was that this dream was actually a part of her legacy story, because her partner, Lee Valmy, unfortunately passed away suddenly, and he was very passionate about developing the professional opportunities within the studio that they, owned and worked in together. So after that passing, Lee has gone on, through, of course, challenges, personal challenges, business challenges, but also triumphs. She's gone on and she is continuing the story that they started together. And that is why in this episode, we talk about legacy. We talk about that because there are so many studio owners that I've met over the years that have this innate feeling of passing on something really special to, whether it be their students, the next generation, family members, partners, children, and so on. And there's something about the arts that calls for that legacy, that calls for that, that continuing of the story. And that's what Lee's doing, and it's beautiful. Now, Lee Valmy is the director and head of dance at Lee Valmy Broadway Academy. She's a multifaceted force in the dance and musical theatre community of Brisbane, Australia, with a lifelong passion for dance that began at the age of 4, which is not an uncommon story, right? She's dedicated herself to mastering the art of ballet, Broadway jazz, and tap, and her primary love and focus lie in tap dance, where she has not only excelled as a performer, but also emerged as a leading advocate for safety in dance. She's also been a choreographer. She's deeply committed to nurturing the next generation of educators. And as an entrepreneur, she's founded initiatives aimed at supporting and mentoring young teachers, empowering them to impart their knowledge and passion to future generations of dancers. Beyond the studio and stage, Lee's talents extend to the realm of dance photography and so much more, contributing that into her dance community. As the director and head of dance at the youth departments at her studio, Lee brings a wealth of experience and expertise to every aspect of her work. Her dedication to excellence, coupled with an unwavering commitment to safety and innovation, makes her an invaluable leader and mentor in the dance world. And, she brings her story today. And of course, she's been very vulnerable in this conversation, but she was actually really open to that. And she wanted to have this conversation. This is part of her story and one that she is open to share. So I'm very grateful that Lee is open about, the passing of her partner and what impact that made in her life and her business and how the legacy lives on. Yeah, it's a really, really touching, beautiful story and a powerful story too. So let me introduce you to the lovely Lee Valmy. Let's kick into the show. Now, before we leap into the show with Lee, I want to remind you that the doors to Talent Manager Bootcamp are open. Talent Manager Bootcamp is now available on demand. I'm so excited to be sharing this with you. And to celebrate, if you join the course before February 8th, 2025, you receive our special bonus offers. There's some really great stuff in there, guys, so you want to make sure you jump in now. Go and check it out. See what it's all about and see how you can create an in-house talent management service inside of your studio. Head to josephinelancuba.com/talent or head to the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Studio Biz and All That Jazz. I'm your performing arts business coach and host, Josephine Lancuba. This show is designed to bring you inspiration, information, and the instruments you need to create and grow the studio biz of your dreams. I will bring you a mix of solo episodes as well as interviews where I tap into the minds of industry experts. My career started as a performer over 2 decades ago. I later became a speaker, theatrical producer, and talent manager, as well as having a successful teaching career in singing, drama, and dance. 10 years into my professional journey, I became a mama of 2 and with a baby on my hip, opened up my very own performing arts studio. From hardship and humble beginnings to 4 studio locations and a multi-6-figure performing arts biz, I know how to attract students and keep them coming back for more. And in the show, I will share with you my experiences to help you thrive and fast-track your path to success. I know you have a spark inside of you with dreams and goals for the future. As your coach and mentor, I'm here to help you step into your limelight and be a cheerleader in your ear each and every week. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk studio biz and all that jazz. I am so excited to introduce to everyone the lovely Lee Valmy. Thank you for being on the show.
For having me.
Now, you are the director of Loic Valmy Broadway Academy. And before we kick into all the things, because you've got lots of stories, experience, you've been a studio owner for quite some time. Before we get into all of the fun stuff, let's talk about how it all started. Like, where did your performing arts journey actually start?
So me personally, I obviously, like everyone else, started dancing from a really, really young age in North Queensland, a little town called Townsville. And I decided when I was about 12 or 13 that I didn't actually want to be a professional dancer. I wanted to be a professional teacher and I wanted to be the best teacher I could possibly be. So from about the age of 13, 14, I started doing all my teacher's exams. I decided I was going to go to uni to study dance education rather than pursuing a performing career. I did a lot of performing arts along the way. I was a professional showgirl for a while. I've done a lot of musical theatre, a lot of choreography, which is what my passion really is, teaching and choreography. And then, so moving to Brisbane to go to uni meant that I never moved back to the country because there's a lot more opportunities here in the city. And so I networked a lot. I started working in like the vocational training sector, which was really focusing on my dance education knowledge and my fitness knowledge and all of those sorts of things to create really well-rounded, really well-educated young dancers. And then it's kind of all just blossomed and exploded into me with my partner having our own performing arts studio.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you've come from a smaller town and then you're now in Brisbane, which is a bigger town, right? I'm not sure if this is a notorious thing or not, but Brisbane, have you heard the phrase Bris Vegas?
Yes.
Why do they call it Bris Vegas?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that one. I guess
because I think it's as well, when you think of Brisbane, you think of like beach bodies and, nightlife and that kind of vibe. So I find that really interesting. And it's such a change, isn't it? Going from a small town to a bigger town. Do you think that you could have had the same level of success had you have stayed in the smaller town? Like, what was the key difference coming from a performing arts background?
So I was a young dancer in like the early 90s. So when I moved to Brisbane, it was, I think, 2005. So the culture around performing arts it's not even a small, Townsville's quite big, but in a country town like that is very different. There's no longevity, there's no real career in it. And so moving into Brisbane, there was all these other opportunities. Like I remember going when I was at university trying to get a job, my first job, and I went to an audition at a cabaret club to be one of the dancers. And it was like that was the opportunities that were available, like as a podium dancer in a club in Brisbane that wouldn't have been available as a dancer in a country town. It just wasn't a
Mm.
thing. And so from there, the networking starts happening because everyone's in the same kind of creative performing elements, which doesn't happen in, yeah, small towns.
And it's interesting because you said your core interest was being a teacher, but
Mhm.
you still fell into, or did you fall into the performance side?
Performing.
How did that actually come about?
Because at university, I didn't want to just work like everyone else was doing. Like we're creatives. I wanted to create things. I wanted to be a part of the dance and performing culture. So I looked for opportunities for work where I could still kind of be immersed in what I loved.
Mm,
And being at university, because I studied dance at university, it wasn't my forte at all. It was very classical focused, very contemporary, very Pilates based training. Whereas I'm a musical theater nerd. Like I wanted to
mhm,
jazz and tap and like high kick in my chorus heels, and that wasn't really a focus at university.
mm,
So I was looking for outlets, looking for avenues where I could explore what really made me tick.
mm. Yeah, and I think that's really cool that you did do that because having, not that you need to have been a performer to teach, and certainly not all performers can teach, that's for
Absolutely.
certain. They're two different, they're very different skills.
Absolutely.
Um, but the fact that you have done that means that you have that a taste of that experience. So when you do have students, I suppose, especially when we talk a bit more about your studio, how you are developing professionals,
Mhm.
that you actually have had a moment to walk in those shoes.
Well, I've never worked professionally on the musical theatre stage. Like, I've
Mm,
never worked at that level. But I have the years that I spent as a touring professional showgirl taught me not even just about performing or dance, but all the other things that come with show etiquette and work ethic.
mm,
Like, this is going to sound so silly, but even just how to dry your costumes after a show. Like all of our costumes were hand sewn and passed down from generations of dancers from like the 70s, and like they just got fixed and passed down. Like you can't wash those things. They're not lycra. So just that, like taking care of your equipment, being on the road and having to fix something really quickly just with your team of dancers, like I feel like young performers don't necessarily have those skill sets yet. So I like to be able to teach my young professionals who are going off into the industry that it's not just about your level of performance, it's also a massive part of your work ethic as well.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about your studio. You've said that and the fact that, I've mentioned in the intro before you jumped on that, you've joined us inside of Studio Talent Collective. You're developing professionals within your studio space. You're a self-confessed musical theatre nerd. Broadway's in the title of your studio. Is Broadway everything that you guys do? Like, is that your niche?
Musical theater is our niche, I think. We really try to create well-rounded performers. I don't like to use the term triple threat because I find that everyone has a strength. Like, I know that it's important to be all of those things, but we don't like to use the term because I think everyone, yeah, has their own particular thing that they really are their best at. So, like, the goal would be wonderful for them to all go over to Broadway and work professionally in Broadway. But something that we've learned in Brisbane is that Brisbane has an incredible small theater cabaret culture. Like we have the like BrisFest here is incredible, and
Maybe
it's
that's the Bris Vegas thing.
there you go.
Yeah,
Um, we
there you
have
go. The
yeah,
showgirls, right?
yeah, we have
Yes.
so many like independent young theater companies that create these incredible works that they come back every year. And like for example, I don't know if I can plug this or not. There's a cabaret show called A Very Naughty Christmas, and they are here. They do a show every single year, and it's just this inappropriate adult Christmas cabaret, and it is just the bee's knees. And they do it every year, and they have these professional actors and musicians and dancers doing it every single year. And I think Brisbane is full of that. So, as a performing arts academy, my goal and my partner's goal was to create performers that can work professionally in any avenue, whether they're creating their own work or working on small touring companies or going internationally to Broadway. So there's so many different options that I don't think anyone really is aware of.
Mm.
We just wanted to create diverse young performers.
When you say young, what sort of age group do you service?
So our youngest is 7, maybe slightly younger, and the oldest is sometimes anywhere between 27 and 50.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
we have our like youth academy, which is like recreational classes, and then we've got a certificate 3 program, which is like a grade 9 to 12s at school, and then we've got our diploma program, which we call our pre-professionals, adult learning.
Yeah, excellent. And when it comes to that pre-professional, what is the difference between that program versus the recreational? Like obviously it might be at a higher level, but what other opportunities are you sort of popping in
So,
there or training?
well, a big thing that we learnt recently was that parents in particular want an accredited piece of paper. So we find that when we started our what we call our performing arts program, the advanced program, is that we weren't offering any accreditation. Loic and I, my partner and I, wrote like decades of years worth of syllabus that we, from experience, wrote to create pre-professional performers, getting them ready to go out into the industry. But then we learned that people wanted a piece of paper. So we partnered with a training company to deliver the Diploma of Musical Theatre, which is a nationally recognised qualification. And so there's a lot of theory involved in that. And we tried to incorporate a lot of performance-based stuff. So instead of just sitting in a classroom and learning and as training and assessing, what we tried to do was make it fully inclusive so that they would perform in their cabaret, they would perform in their mid-year showcase, they would perform in a full-scale musical. And that's what working in the industry is about.
Mm.
Giving them the tools in their toolbox to be able to build what they needed going
Yeah.
into the industry. Does that
And
make sense?
giving them that professional experience in an amateur setting, right? So there's still the nurturing and development, components, but they're getting still that professional process.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that so much. Let's take a step back in time, okay,
Mhm.
and talk about the beginnings of your studio ownership journey.
Yep.
Um, when did that start and why?
So Loic and I had both been teaching independently in different schools, universities, training facilities, and whatever before we met. And then we'd been like I'm primarily a dancer, musical theater kid, and Loic is primarily a singer actor teacher. So when we came together and we were like, why don't we just make our own school? It's always been my dream to have my own school. And Loic trained in Paris, in France, and he went to a full-time training academy, and it was his dream to have a school similar to what we find in like Fame, the movie. So when we came together, I was like, this is my dream. He said, this is my dream. And we were like, right, let's just do it. There seemed to be a little bit of a gap in the market with like pre-tertiary training. Like there's the Bachelor of Musical Theatre, and then there was like you go from high school to that, and there was just this gap. So we're like, well, let's put something in the middle. And so in the year of like 2019, we started planning, and this would be our goal, and where we're going to do it, how we're going to do it. And we were offering some just like casual adult classes and sorts of things. And then January 2020, we're like, right, let's do it. Let's get
What a
our.
great year to kick
I
off.
know. Well, it hadn't happened yet. It hadn't
Good
happened
year.
yet. And we
Yeah.
were like, great, let's do it. Let's, hire this hall, and let's get our logo and get our website up and running. And like Loic did all of the things. Great, let's do it. And we started some kids classes, and was really like, had like 3 students at the very beginning and 5 adult students. It was wonderful. And then COVID happened.
Mm.
And we decided that we're just going to shut the doors. There's no point in paying for things like Zoom or trying to keep like it just wasn't worth it. So we just shut
Yeah, and you just started.
just started.
Yeah.
And just fortunately enough, at the time, Loic was lecturing at a university that was online anyway, and I was still teaching for another musical theatre school just as a casual teacher. So we had enough to kind of support us during that COVID time. And then the lid came off COVID, and we steadily started opening our doors again. And we
When
just
did you really kick into gear, do you think, with this?
probably the following year.
So, like, was that 2021?
Yeah, probably 2021. I remember our very first end of year showcase, which was the end of 2021.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Queensland restrictions, COVID restrictions, were a bit more lenient
Yes.
than New South Wales and Victoria. I think Victoria had it the worst.
Yeah, I think we
New
were,
South Wales was pretty up there.
mm,
Victoria really had those lockdown
yeah.
restrictions, and that was a big thing for them. New South Wales, but Queensland was a bit more loose, right? So,
Yeah, we were fully locked down for, I might have this wrong, but I kind of remember all of term one, so about 3 months, because I remember homeschooling my children. We were fully in lockdown for all of term one. And I feel like at the beginning of term two, so say May of that year, the lid kind of loosened a bit. Um,
mm,
but we didn't, we tried to stumble along just to keep the momentum going, and
mm.
then fully kicked
Did you
off.
still have to do like social distancing in the classroom and all that jazz?
Yeah. And anything with singing,
Masks?
yep, masks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
teaching behind a perspex,
Wow.
because yeah,
Love it.
well, Loic couldn't teach singing on it because he would play the piano in a private or a singing lesson with a mask on. So he just built a perspex wall and taught behind the perspex wall.
Yeah. But you did it, right? You did
Yeah.
it
And
and you
here we
built
are.
your business, and here you are.
Yeah.
Now, along the journey, you had some challenges,
Mhm.
personal challenges,
Yeah.
which we've had conversations about, and you've said that you're happy to share that story with everyone today. Do you mind talking about that with us and letting us know?
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
So, when did you start? When did it become apparent that there was something, in ill health with Loic? Like, when did it all begin?
So Loic passed away in August of
Mm,
last year, very suddenly. Yeah, we had no signs whatsoever.
no
Nothing.
signs.
Nothing. He went to work that morning. I stayed home because on that particular day of the week was my day off. It's my mummy day because the kids wouldn't go to school that day. And he just went to work like he always did. I called him. We had a little FaceTime at around lunchtime, and then I got a phone call at 2:30 that um, he wasn't waking up, and that was kind of it. So he died. He died really quickly, and hopefully pain-free of a sudden heart attack
Yeah, okay.
at 52.
At 52, which is so young, and you've got children together, and you've got this business together, and you've got this life together, and I really thank you for sharing this story, because a lot of people aren't comfortable talking about this, but I think it's important that we do. I mean, I lost my mum in January and last year, and I was very open about having that conversation, and I actually think there's a healing aspect to having that conversation and putting it out there. So I do appreciate it. But he passed away quite suddenly in August last year.
Mhm.
How do you go from being in this partnership of life and business to then, holy crap, I've got to do this all on my own? Was there a support network around you, or how did
I'm
it work?
Loic and I did absolutely everything together. We ran our house together. We would literally go and do the groceries together with our 4 kids because he just wanted to be together all the time. So that we ran the business together, like everything. So in the space of an instant, my best friend's gone, and my boss, it's not my boss, but my work colleague is gone. Um, I'm very, very, very lucky that I have a wonderful relationship with my family. I have 3 sisters and a mother and my father. They all, except for one sister, they all live in North Queensland.
Mm,
And as soon as I rang them, they were on a plane here and they were here that night. I I live with one of my sisters. She lives downstairs, so she's kind of stepped up into this incredible auntie role.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful.
One of my other sisters moved jobs to live with me for an additional 3 months just to help my kids kind of. It's a big void that this wonderful man left in our house, so they had to kind of help. Um, I'm also incredibly lucky for my staff that we have at the studio. So, I mean, fate. We only started hiring administrative staff last year because Loic and I literally did everything. And I was like, I just can't cope anymore. So, when it all happened, our diploma students were on campus when it happened and they found him because I was obviously not there. And they held me up, and my staff managed the entire. We shut down. I had to shut. I couldn't cope. So I shut the
Yeah.
business indefinitely. I didn't even know when I would be back. And my staff managed it. They didn't come to me with anything. They put everyone's payments on hold. They closed the doors. They just did everything. And I can honestly say I couldn't possibly have done any of it without them. I would
Mm,
be a very different person.
yeah. And, it's such an interesting time of year too, from that August perspective, because you are smack bang in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
that's really tough.
Yeah.
How long did you decide to take that hiatus from your business?
So August was, it was only about 3 weeks left of our term three.
Mm,
So we were closed indefinitely, but I decided to open again in term four, mainly because, well, I needed it, but also because I think the kids all needed it. And I say kids, I mean all the adult students as well. Like they were all very close with Loic because the diploma was his thing. They needed it. They'd been promised a diploma. They'd been promised training. So if I chose to walk away because I couldn't cope, I felt like that would be really selfish of me. They needed to be able to finish. And I also felt like that's not at all what Loic would have wanted. So everything I do is literally with him in my the literally like here going, that's not what I would have said. So that's what they needed. I needed to give them that. We also had a massive workshop with Courtney Monsma, who was Glinda in Wicked at the time, that had been, 40 people had booked and paid for. I couldn't cancel that. We had a holiday workshop production of the Addams Family with 45 children registered. I couldn't cancel that. So
I mean, you could, but you didn't want to. That's what it really comes down to. I mean, there's always a choice, right? That you
true.
can, but you wanted to live out the promise, right?
I just feel like if I'd have cancelled it, that's not what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
So I needed to do what he would have wanted me to do. Everybody would have understood, Joe. Everybody would have been like, "Yep, no worries, Lee, we get it." Like
Mm.
I needed to deliver on my promise.
And how
And
did that feel when you delivered on the promise? What was it, a relief? Was it stressful? Was it
incredible.
overwhelming? How was it at the
It
time?
was like with that support network that I have, it was incredible. It was very emotional, and it's every time we have a performance because we have multiple shows a year with lots of holiday workshops and whatever, and every time I get up to speak and say thank you to everyone and all of those sorts of things, it's always incredibly emotional.
Mm.
That was never my job. That was Loic's job. He's the man on the banner, like he was the one that would get up and speak. So I had to fill some big shoes, but it's so rewarding to feel the love of everyone that was around and helping.
So now that you've gone through this tragic experience, it's obviously been very emotional for you. You've continued, though. You've kept going. What does that what does the future look like in relation to what you're doing now? I know that when we first had a discussion about the talent management side and you stepping into the agency, Studio Talent Collective, you mentioned that there was a dream,
Yeah.
this dream that you and Loic shared, or potentially it was more Loic, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So
Oh, it's a bit of
clarify that,
both.
that talent management was something that he really wanted for the business.
Mhm.
Tell me why, from your perspective, why you did join Studio Talent Collective.
I want to give our pre-professional young adults the opportunity to finish their training and go into the industry. I feel like that's how it always kind of was, is that there was this gap. It's like, right, I'm done now. I'm at a level where I feel like I could go and work professionally. Now what? It's like the training that they get at maybe other training facilities is like, okay, off you go, go find an agent. Oh, and they're like, what? How do I do that? Off you go, go find work. I don't even know how to do my tax. Like, I don't have an ABN yet. Like, there's so much missing.
Yes.
So Loic and I, years ago when we very first started, before, yeah, very long time ago, we decided that we would create our own talent agency that went directly from the diploma of musical theatre that we were offering into the talent management, and then that we'd created, and then we could then send them out to work, hopefully like giving them butterfly wings and just being like, righto, off you go, go and enjoy the rest of your career now. But we would be kind of just bridging that little gap at the start.
Mm.
So this past 2 years, we've had an incredible cohort of diploma students. And so many of them are like, well, now what am I going to do? They go off and they audition for other bachelors at other universities. And Loic and I are like, but the whole point of our program was to have you ready to go. The whole point was not for you to go and audition for a Bachelor of Musical Theatre in Adelaide or like the
No.
con anyway. The goal is to have you ready to work.
Yes. And
So
having an in-house talent agency does that because you're absolutely right. It bridges the gap because what you're saying is people would come through your program, your professional development program, and then go and do another. And essentially what they're doing is they're just becoming professional students and they're
absolutely.
not taking the leap. And all that they need is someone to say, I can help you.
Yep.
I can help you get from A to B.
Yep.
And that's exactly why I created Studio Talent Collective because studios like yours and all studios really, we're developing, the next stars. And I know that sounds really naff, but it's true. You're developing performing artists and they go on to do incredible things and perform, on screen and on stage, but they just don't know how to get there or they don't have the confidence. So they might know that they should send, a pitch to these agents and stuff, but they actually just don't go and do it because it's scary.
Yeah.
And you're
And
absolutely right. They don't have ABNs. They don't know anything about tax. They don't actually know about the business
no.
of the arts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that there's so many young, talented performers. Or I say young, but I'm putting like that 7 to 27 age bracket, right? That,
That's
you know,
young. I'm 42. I'm
yeah,
young. I'm a spring chicken.
I just meant, like not just the kids, like
Yeah.
the whole main facet of them, right? And I feel like they to go and audition for a main talent agent or whatever, like we would send some of them to Sydney to audition and meet and greet with a talent agent, right? But they may not have the personable skills yet to be able to interview well to then be put on the books. They may not have the show reel. They may not have the skills to work in the industry. So those talent agents like, yeah, no thanks.
And what a joke that they've got to go from Vegas all the way to Sydney to meet an agent.
I know
It's
it's
ridiculous.
crazy.
There is work available everywhere. And this is one of the things, and like part of Studio Talent Collective is in that first month, I give you access to Talent Manager Bootcamp, my course. And that's where you start to learn all the things. But, these opportunities are available to everyone. Yes, of course, there will be more commercial work in particular cities and areas, but there are national castings for productions that are happening, and you can be in Brisbane, you can be in regional
Yeah,
wherever, and you can actually apply if you have someone who has access
yeah.
to the industry. And that's all it is, right? It's access.
It's
Um,
networking. And I think, sorry, Joe, I think the other thing, one of the things that actually benefited us from COVID is that it allowed all of these video submissions.
yes.
So it opened that door for that to be acceptable.
That is true because prior, I must admit, a lot of it was in-person auditioning, and now since COVID, everything is self-tape, and you can self-tape from anywhere.
Yeah.
You can be on a plane to Hawaii and at the airport and self-tape. I've
Yeah.
actually had someone do that because as long as they're available for the actual shoot dates and whatever, they did their audition literally at the airport, and
Yeah.
they could.
Yeah. I've had students oh, I need to do my self-tape now, and they're like in my office in the corner doing a self-tape for something that needed to be submitted that night. Like it's just way more accessible now, especially being up here in Brisbane. There is a lot of seems to be a lot of jobs that come through for the Gold Coast,
Mm,
and we're only an hour from the Gold Coast,
which is
but yeah, which is fine. But again, it just I'm just happy to be able to give them a platform and a way, the yellow brick road to get to where they need to be.
mm. What's your big dream? Well, so you and well, let's start from what was you and low extreme and where is it now? Is it the same dream now that you're here on your own, you're independently running this, life has changed.
Mhm.
What was the dream and has the dream changed?
Um, well, to be quite honest, there was many dreams.
Mm,
A very creative man. But having a full-time musical theatre performing arts school was his absolute dream. So having what we used to call PA high, so like a performing arts high school instead of conventional schooling is something that we were working towards, and then would also feed into the diploma as like a tertiary, pre-tertiary. Where I'm currently still working on that because I love it as well. Like these certificate three girls that we've got are all like 14 to 16, and I love nurturing them so much. And they're just musical theatre nerds. They love costuming and hair and all those sorts of things. So I love the dream of kind of harboring their dreams, I guess, from a young
mm,
age like that. My dreams have evolved since losing Loic because of my priorities are different.
mm,
Um, I tap is my thing and I love teaching all of my tap students, but I've had to pull back a little bit because now I need to be more available for my kids because it's only me.
When you
Um,
say your kids, you mean your children or
my
students?
children, no, my
Yeah,
children.
yeah.
Yeah, my children. So I used to teach, as most studio owners know, 3 nights a week.
Mm.
Um, and
Oh,
my partner, Loic, would have them in a Saturday morning or a Saturday, all day Saturday, or we'd have all those things. And he would have the kids because his diploma program was during the day. So we'd just do a swap over. So now obviously that's changed. And I've found that I'm pulling back a lot on all of my teaching because I need to manage the business.
mm,
Um, and something that's really kind of popped out to me, because he's only been gone a couple of months, is that I really want to produce more work for these kids. So like we have a holiday workshop every school holidays where we do a massive musical in a week. But this year, I think will be the first year that we apply for a license of a full length show, and run it as either a semi professional or a profit share kind of full stage production, um, and give these wonderful, talented kids an opportunity to work on stage, semi pro, with other professionals in the industry.
mm.
I think that's
So
where
the legacy does live on. It's evolved, but it still lives on in you. And you must feel, I hope you feel a bit proud about that you've managed to do this because
thanks.
it's not easy. I mean, not only is it like you've not just lost a business partner here, you've lost your life partner, and that's a really big thing. And it's always so hard when you're doing it on your own, and solopreneurs know it can be challenging, but you've done it, and you're doing it.
Yeah, thank you. The school will definitely continue. Like the PA High is a massive dream that will always continue. It'll always be like Valmy Broadway Academy. Um, and I mean, he was a massive entrepreneur. He was always having ideas. So I think any kind of route that I go down will be like him whispering in the back of my ear that, this is a great idea or this is not a good idea. So I
Mm.
just want to
Yeah,
try
I love that.
to
So,
him.
who or what inspires you most?
Oof, that's a big question. The children,
Mm.
the students. I just our whole academy philosophy is being like a family environment. I've taught at, and Loic has taught at, and we all have taught at some schools that have a bit of a toxic culture.
Mm.
Um, and our whole philosophy was to avoid that. So when you see their little faces come in and they want to perform and they want Miss Lee, look, I got my wings. Oh my God, I got my wings. I've been working so hard. And like that, oh, it makes me want to cry. That just makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing and keep working hard for them. Um, and this is just a little thing that I remember when I was a kid. I had my teacher whose name was Miss Munro, and she couldn't dance because she had sore knees, and she used to sing like the rhythm of the time step in our heads. So I've still got mini Miss Munro in my head singing the rhythm of a time step, and now my kids, all of my students, have mini Miss Lee in their head, and I just love that that's the trajectory their lives will.
And that was Miss Monroe's legacy, right?
No,
It's
I
interesting is when you're a mentor and a teacher, it's interesting. Sometimes you don't even realize what you leave behind.
yeah,
It's quite a powerful thing to
it
mentor someone and teach someone.
And Loic was the most incredible mentor, and he had this really wonderful French accent. So the diploma students in particular all have these wonderful memories of him saying things in his French accent, and it's just
That must
hilarious.
have been part of the attraction, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, of course.
So how do you define success? Like, what does success mean to you?
Um, it's changed over the years. Like when we first start, obviously it's like it's either monetary success or like student number success, like how many you've got, retention. And then now it's starting to be a bit of a social media thing as well, but I just let my social media staff handle that. But to be quite honest, I think in the last 6 months it's become about happiness. Um, I want my business to kind of be self-sufficient. I want my staff and my students to kind of be able to, work together autonomously so that I'm able to sit here happy. All, the bills are paid for the business, the rent's paid, the staff are paid, my taxes are paid, and I can go home and spend time with my kids who need me, who need me.
Yeah.
Um, that's and they're happy. That's there's no point in doing any of this if I'm not happy and they're not happy.
It's so
So
true.
I
What's
think,
next for you, Lee? What's next?
gosh, well, we're just starting the new year. The talent management.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
great. So launching the talent agency in-house,
yeah, absolutely.
I am supporting you with. We're
Yeah.
so excited about that.
All of my students are really excited about it.
Oh, good. So you've started spreading the word then.
Yeah, we're dropping little rumor bombs, but
Oh,
they're
I
very
love that.
excited. Yeah.
I think that's such a great one. And again, it's a dream that was shared and the legacy lives on. And I love that so much for you. Thank you so much
My
for being
pleasure.
on the show today.
No worries.
Yeah, you've just been an amazing guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, Talent Manager Bootcamp is now in its bonus offer launch, which means that if you join the course before February 8th, 2025, we have special offers and bonuses available. So jump in now and check it out. Head to josephinelancuba.com/talent. Link is in the show notes. See you next time. This episode was brought to you by my signature group coaching program, Studio Biz Success, an amazing and accessible online educational platform for performing arts studio owners designed to help you grow your business with confidence and get your results. Check it out at josephinelancuba.com along with other great industry resources to help you leap into the studio biz you deserve. If you love this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. You can tag me on social media at Josephine Lancuba and give it a review. Your support helps the show to grow so I can continue to provide you with useful, informative content. I'm Josephine Lancuba, your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for listening and shine bright.